Karla and Wade were a happy couple that lived in San Diego, California. The two had been living together in a small apartment during their college years. But now that both Karla and Wade had graduated, Karla wanted to move out of the apartment and rent a bigger house somewhere a little far from the hustle and bustle. Both Karla and Wade worked in the city, so they couldn't search for a big home too far from their workplace. By the next summer, the couple got married and had found a nice house that they could rent in a quiet neighborhood that was about a 40-minute drive to the city. Things were going well for Karla and Wade. Karla had invested her savings on opening a boutique about 2 years back. Her boutique had unexpectedly turned out to be a success. Karla had hired a few employees who would manage the boutique themselves, and she found herself a lot of time to be at home. On the other hand, Wade was putting up with a temporary job as an assistant to a lawyer. Karla was an attractive young woman. She was confident, independent, and not to mention, quite well-to-do. Unsurprisingly, Karla had many rivals, especially other women that couldn't stand her good looks. And Karla had always been bothered by men who tried to woo her. Life was near perfect for Karla, but there was one thing that was bothering her ever since she moved to the new house. There was a young man in his 20s across the street from her that seemed to be eyeing her. Karla was well aware of men like him, and so far, the first impressions he gave off weren't so appealing to her. He looked at her strange, he smiled at her unnecessarily, but there wasn't anything explicit that Karla could point a finger at that she could complain to Wade. Karla had introduced herself to her neighbor. She even took the opportunity to mention the guy across the street that had been peeping through her curtains. "Susan, I'm telling you, he was staring at me all morning. This isn't the first time I've had to deal with a pervert before. This is the story of my life, having to shoo away men. But I've always known Hector to be a kind, decent guy." You might want to rethink that one, Susan. Some people have dark secrets. Well, that's the cost of being such an attractive woman, right, Karla? I know, it's difficult. One day, when Karla had taken a day off, she sat down with some coffee to get some work done on her laptop after Wade left for work. Karla had yet to get ready. She was still wearing her nightrobe. She went to her room to get dressed. As she walked over to the curtains to draw them, she stood a while and waved to Wade, who was getting out his keys to the car. He was talking to the man from across the street. It looked as if Wade was being polite, as he usually was with everyone. Karla watched Wade drive off, but the man was still standing there in front of her gate. He was staring at her. Karla felt a little uncomfortable when he wouldn't move his gaze. Karla quickly drew the curtains and shook her head. She couldn't let pests like him ruin her day. Karla finished her morning routine and sat down on her desk to check her emails when her phone started vibrating. It was an unknown number. She picked up the call. "You look nice this morning. Why did you close the curtains?" "Excuse me, who is this?" "Someone that's eager to see you. You're young and beautiful." "You've got the wrong number." No, I have the right number, Mrs. Karla Bonovich." "Don't call this number again." Karla couldn't believe it. It was the man from across the road. He managed to learn her name and get her phone number. There was only one person who had seen her through the curtains this morning, and it was him. That day, when Wade came back home, she mentioned the phone call to him, and that she thought the guy across the street was eyeing her. "Who, the young man that lives on the other side? His name is Hector. He seemed like a good guy. I spoke to him this morning. He goes to college here." "You must be the new neighbors. I'm Hector Wilson." "Nice to meet you, Hector. I'm Wade Bonovich. I've recently moved here with my wife. I could show you around the neighborhood sometime." "Sure, thank you." "Someone called me this morning from an unknown number. Now I'm sure it was no one but him. He was trying to flirt with me. What are you saying, Karla? We just moved here a couple weeks ago and you're already judging people. I saw him staring at me, Wade, and this isn't the first time something like this happened. Whenever he sees me, he has a creepy smile on his face. I don't like it. All right, if it happens again, I'll see. Karla was awfully worried about this new stalker she had. But when a few days went by without any disturbance, Karla nearly forgot about the caller, until one day she received another call from that unknown number. Hey there, sweetheart, did you miss me? Stop calling me. Why is my darling upset? Maybe you need some company. You have quite a nerve, mister. Why don't you come over to my house and we can spend some good time? Karla cut the line. She looked through the curtains and tried to spot Hector in his house. To her surprise, after a while, he opened his door and walked out. He was coming towards Karla's house. Karla became nervous. Was he actually going to come here? Wade wasn't home. When Hector came to her side of the road, Karla immediately called the police and complained about a trespasser. When the police arrived, Hector was long gone. The police told Karla there was nothing they could do as Hector hadn't really done anything. Karla insisted that the police go give him a strict warning, and although the police were reluctant, they agreed to talk to Hector. Mr. Hector, we hope you aren't up to any trouble. We've been receiving many complaints about you from the women around here. What? It must have been the Bonovich. Has looking at a woman become a crime now? I haven't done anything wrong. Karla was rather disappointed after hearing what the police had to say about Hector. It was as if they all believed Hector was an innocent fellow, whereas he had been making indecent phone calls to Karla and peeping into her house. Wade even had a hard time believing Karla. Hector had created a good impression on him. Hector not only turned out to be a pervert, he was also cunning and clever. Later that day, Karla received another call. What happened, honey? Why did you call the police today? Is everything fine? How dare you call me again? Is it surprising? A beautiful woman like you is bound to have many admirers. The next day, Karla went to her neighbor, Suzanne's house, again. She didn't feel safe all alone in her house when Wade was out, and perhaps if she became close to some of the families that lived here, they would come to her rescue if anything were to happen. Suzanne invited Karla in for a cup of coffee. Suzanne told Karla a lot about herself. She worked in an animated film production company. That's amazing, Suzanne. Have you ever tried for a role on screen? Reminds me of the time this producer stopped me on the subway. He couldn't stop praising me for my looks. He offered me a role in this big movie he was producing. I turned down the offer. Gotta give the other girls a chance, right? Oh, Karla, I only wish I was as beautiful as you. As the two gossiped, Karla took the opportunity to mention Hector again. She explained to Suzanne how she didn't like the vibe he was giving off, and she warned her to be aware as well. Karla returned home and began preparing dinner. Her phone rang again, and she realized it was from the unknown caller. Nights are sleepless without you, Karla. How many more days until we will finally be together? You're a foul young man. You know very well I'm married. Nobody will know once Wade is gone. Wade doesn't give you time, does he? I know you have the whole day to yourself. Why don't you spare me an hour? The next day, Wade was getting ready for an interview. Karla fixed his tie and handed him his bag. Good luck. Karla wanted to speak to him about the calls, but she thought Wade would stress about her instead of focusing on his interview. She could wait until he came back. Wade went out the door and walked to his car. He noticed Hector approaching him. You look impressive, Mr. Bonovich. What's the occasion? Wish me luck. I'm going to give a job interview. I hope everything turns out well. I hope that there won't be any mischief on my property while I'm out. Well, this neighborhood is a rather good neighborhood. Not many crimes happen around here, so you don't need to be stressed, Mr. Bonovich. No, you see, Karla has been getting these disturbing phone calls recently that have had me worried. I've contacted the police and informed the neighbors to keep an eye on the house. Wade drove off as Karla watched through her curtains again. Karla secured all her windows and doors and went out to run some errands. By the time she returned home, it was late in the afternoon, and she was surprised to find Hector standing on her porch. "Get off of my property." "I will, but it's been long since I've been planning to speak with you about something urgent." "You can speak about it to my husband. Now please move aside and let me enter my house." When Karla was about to close her door, Hector stopped the door with his hand and pushed it open. He entered and began angrily pacing towards Karla. "What do you think of yourself? All you kind of women seek is attention. Everyone in town used to believe I was a decent gentleman, just until you came along. You are beautiful, Karla, but that doesn't make you an angel. Get away from me. Get out of my house immediately. Because of you, everyone in this neighborhood thinks I'm always up for a catch. These people used to be proud of me, until you started spreading rumors. One day the police comes over to my house, your husband suspects me, the neighbors give me strange looks. You've made me an outcast in the society. People hate me. You've done an awful thing." Hector looked furious. Karla feared he might do something to take revenge on her for exposing his true nature. She took the flower vase on the table and struck it on his head. Hector held his head and stumbled back. Karla quickly ran to call the police. As she dialed the number, her phone lit up with a call. It was from the unknown number. Her hands shook as she picked up the call. "My love, what took you so long to answer? Were you thinking about me?" Karla turned and looked at Hector. What had she done? "My love, what took you so long to answer? Were you thinking about me?"
"Suzanne, you're one talented voice actress. You should be working for a bigger film production company. How do you do that with your voice? Is this the new role you're playing?"
"Oh no, this isn't for work. I'm just having a little fun. There's this woman that moved next door. She thinks too highly of herself, like she's the queen of the world, and everything revolves around her. She thinks there's no woman better looking than her. She keeps complaining about every guy that takes one glance at her is hitting on her. I'm just trying to get on her nerve. She'll be here tomorrow, whining again about her good looks." Click on the subscribe button and check out more awesome videos on our channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon because you know it's interesting.